Loon, Josh.
Prod by Magical.
Loon, Josh. Loon, Josh. Loon. Chip on chick, get her wet, get her wild. They lean her when she smile. Them gyal like them we rub your pan time. And me nah talk money, them we make you lose your mind. Pull up your stress. Me too stubborn, me love them to death. Pull up your stress. Me too stubborn.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Marlon Night Podcast. I'm Marlon, and we are at episode number 4. Hope everybody's been having a great weekend. Hope your week was great. I hope you're feeling blessed. I hope you woke up today feeling energetic. Hope you're happy. I hope everything is good. I had a pretty good week. Had a pretty decent weekend so far. Everything's been pretty good. I just beat Clair Obscure Expedition 33. I've been playing that game for PlayStation for a while. So if you're not familiar with Clair Expedition 33, definitely go check that game out because it's an amazing game, man. So I spend a lot of time trying to play this game. I haven't had much time to actually play it every day. So I had to play it like piece by piece because I've been so busy trying to do the podcast, trying to get things together and everything. But I finally beat it. And just make sure everything is good with this. I finally beat it, and it's been really good. You know what I'm saying? My boy, I was talking to my boy or whatever. He was telling me about the sub boss Simon that's in the game. I didn't get to beat Simon yet, and my boy, shout outs to T Shadow, man. My boy's over here joking on me, talking about, oh, if you ain't beat Simon, then you ain't beat the game. You ain't really beat the game, but Simon is a sub boss. He's not like part of the main story. So basically, the first time I played it and the first time I beat Mael's version, and then I went back and I beat Verso's version because there's 2 different endings to the game. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because when I beat Mael's version, I thought that I was done. So I went back and played Verso, and I realized there was a separate ending, and it made me reconsider what I thought was actually the true ending of the game, or what I thought was the better ending of the game. But it was a really great story, really great gameplay. I had a great time with this game. Check it out, definitely. I can understand now why the game got Game of the Year. You know what I mean? Really solid game, man. I really enjoyed it. So up next, I'm waiting on Resident Evil Requiem, which is what I'm going to start the podcast on. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start the podcast talking about Resident Evil Requiem that's coming out. You know, we all are excited for that, which is also the developers of Capcom. So if you're a Resident Evil fan like myself, then you're definitely excited for Requiem. So recently they dropped a trailer, a new trailer showing some gameplay from Resident Evil Requiem, which is going to be out on February 27th. And it showed some gameplay for Leon, and it showed like some new features of the game, right? So in Resident Evil Requiem, we basically have Leon, and then we have I believe her name, what's her name again? Let me just make sure I got this right. There's 2 main protagonists in the game. First of all, you could play Resident Evil Requiem in first person, or you could play it in third person, right? So that's like one of the biggest key features of the game right now. And they just showed Leon and Grace. I'm sorry, Grace is the other protagonist. It's kind of fucked up because Grace was actually the original character that they introduced to the game, and I can only remember Leon. But Leon is like the more popular character, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody really loves Leon as far as like him being the flagship character of Resident Evil. Grace is like kind of new to the Resident Evil franchise. I believe that she was in Resident Evil Biohazard or Village or something like that. But Resident Evil, it starts from zombies and then it goes into occult type of fear elements, right? That's where we see things kind of change up when it starts going into the occult version of this whole franchise, because it started out with zombies, now it's going into a different genre. But Requiem kind of brings that back with the zombies, because they showed some new gameplay for Requiem, and you can see like they added zombies back into the game, but it looks like it's having a mixture of zombies and occult versions of the game. So we have Grace, and then we have Leon, and apparently Grace is more a survivalist in this game, where she's like trying to survive against these big, overly grown monsters that's chasing her throughout the game. Then we have Leon, who's more like the soldier, action. He's like he has more of the ability to fight back these zombies and these monsters. They showed the gameplay. Now he has a lot more finishers. He's able to take weapons away from the monsters or the zombies and use the weapons to his advantage to get his kills. He has a shotgun. He's using the Magnum. Whereas Grace, she's more like she's trying to survive. She has to hide. She has to crawl. She has to sneak. She has to do things to kind of escape the sight and to get and not be alert to these monsters in the game. They gave her this one gun, which is also named after the game Requiem, and it has one bullet that could pretty much one shot a bunch of these monsters. She also has the ability to mix the blood of the zombies into this, I guess you would say, some type of biohazard virus that will seep inside of their blood and explode them from the inside. So they showed a bunch of different gameplay aspects to this, and it was really interesting seeing how things have changed from Resident Evil 4 with Leon till now. They have a whole bunch of these different type of abilities that they gave him. So Requiem is coming out February 27th. It's going to be dropping on Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2, PS5, and Windows. So it's going to be multi-platform. It's a survival horror. It's going to be a really great game. It has really great graphics. So we're really looking forward to that. They also announced that they did a partnership with Porsche, right? Because there's going to be a car that Leon is going to be driving in the game that's going to be a Porsche, and they took that car from an actual real life design. It's going to be the Cayenne Turbo GT Porsche, and they are teaming up with Resident Evil to actually bring this car into the game so they can, I guess this is just their way of exhibiting, kind of like this is their way of introducing, showcasing the vehicle. It's a 2026 model, so that's just their way of showcasing the vehicle. I'm not sure about where they're going to be selling it or how much it's going to be actually worth, but it looks like a beast of a vehicle. They're also partnershiping with what is it called again? The watches. They have like a watchmaker that they're partnershiping with. Let me just see if I can look that up. It's Hamilton, right? So they're partnershiping with Hamilton to distribute these limited edition Resident Evil watches that's going to be available when the game drops. They have one that's black and one that's going to be black with a gold-plated face. So that's going to be also in the game, where Leon is going to be wearing a watch, Grace is going to be wearing a watch. This is their way of also introducing their new design to, the public as far as like these watches, these designs are concerned. The watches are going to go for around $2,000 a piece. So if you are a collector like me, you definitely might want to look into that. And if you do like Resident Evil, and if you're a fan like I am, because I'm a Resident Evil fanboy, you already know. So if you are into that stuff, definitely look into it, because those watches are only going to be for a limited time. It's a limited series watch. So if you're trying to get that, I would definitely look into that as soon as possible, because it's not going to be around for long. I'm pretty sure the scalpers are going to be trying to sell that stuff online. Once everything gets bought out and everything, they're going to be trying to distribute it online and eBay and all that stuff for way more than the original retail price. So you guys definitely look into that. It's going to be crazy when it drops, and I can't wait for it. Like, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to everything that they're going to be showcasing. We don't know. One thing I don't know about this game is exactly how long the playtime is going to be. They haven't really told us if it's going to be like 30 hours to 40 hours. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's not something they're going to say, because we're right there. We're technically there. The game is almost out. We're almost there. So they might not give us another trailer, or they might, and they might explain a bunch of that stuff along the line. So we'll see how that happens. Aside from everything else, though, that's looking really great. That's going to be really, really good. And this is why I kind of had to beat Clear Obscure Expedition 33, because I didn't want to have to cycle between that and this game. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to have most of my focus, because I'm going to be streaming Resident Evil Requiem on my streaming platform. Also, make sure you guys follow my streaming platform at Hidden Token 1. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. So definitely check that out, because I'm going to be streaming that game a lot when it comes out. So that's the first thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Make sure you guys go check that out. Make sure you do your pre-orders. If you're a Resident Evil fan like me, also you can look into those watches that's going to be coming out. I'm also trying to see if I can get one for myself. So definitely look into that. So there's that. The next topic that I want to get into, Cory HolComb. Cory and so Cory HolComb, he has a show called 5150, right? And it's on YouTube, you know, and he had like this issue recently that's been all circulating all over the internet. He invited Anton Daniels on the show, and they had a dispute. You know, they were talking about a few things that's going on or whatever. And long story short, they got into an argument. They got into a dispute. You know, a bunch of words were exchanged. Some very vulgar stuff was said, and they almost ended up fighting. Now, I've seen people, you know, giving their input on the situation. They're trying to figure out, like, who was at fault in the situation, who was scared, who was not scared, who would have set it off and who wasn't going to set it off. And I just wanted to give my take on this, because I haven't spoken about it, because I was waiting to talk about it on the podcast. So I just want to give my take on this. I feel like this situation was very unfortunate, because, you know, between these two brothers, you know, it would have been really good to see them kind of hash this situation out and have a real intellectual conversation and just get that off, instead of having to get into this, you know, battle of, you know, whose Johnson is bigger than the other. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I just felt like they could have handled this situation a lot differently. Cory HolComb is one of those hot-headed guys. You know what I'm saying? He always wants to be the loudest person in the room. And he sat next to Anton Daniels, who I just felt was a little bit tad more intellectual in this situation, because he handled himself differently. And he was having a very in-depth conversation with Cory. And I felt like maybe Cory felt a little bit intimidated by him as far as where his mind was at. He wasn't prepared to have a certain conversation, or maybe he was. Maybe he didn't like Anton before this even happened, and maybe that's where it all stems from, because I felt like the energy in the room was just off. It's really sad, because to see these two brothers get into this situation, you got to understand that there are people watching this show, and if Cory is trying to be serious in this space of where he's at right now, you want to bring in different people into your show. You don't just want to have one demographic. But people are going to see something like this and say, I'm not trying to watch this. You know, like, to be honest with you, I don't even know why this was something that they uploaded. I felt like this is something they should have kept in the tuck. Like, don't even put this out there for the public to see, because now everybody's going to be looking at you like you're not professional. You're doing something that you're not going to reach the masses, right? So Cory HolComb told Anton that he kisses white America's ass or whatever. Anton replied back with a rebuttal saying, you suck the D of black people. And that was where everything started from. It rubbed Cory the wrong way, and then he got into Anton's face, and they started having a yelling, you know, dispute. The testosterone was all in the air, you know, tensions was high, and they started like yelling and getting at each other. There was parts within this altercation that Anton actually did apologize for disrespecting him and tried to move on from the conversation. But at that point, Cory just seemed like he wasn't even trying to have it. He seemed like he was just already in his feelings about what was said. And from that point on, there was no conversation left. It was just, now I'm mad, and I'm going to tell you I'm mad. And even though I know I can't do anything to you in front of this camera because it's rolling right now, I want you to know that I really want to do something to you. And that's the energy he gave off. It felt like the thing that you guys got to understand out there is that these are two brothers that are doing very well for themselves. They have a following, and they're doing something on a platform. Like, there's people watching it. There was a chat. There was a stream. You know, they're not, people are saying, oh, who would have hit who would have fought. You know, Cory told Anton to say it in my face. He didn't say it, so he took a L. Anton told Cory, let's go outside and handle this like men. He didn't want to go outside, so he took a L. But y'all got to understand that they are on a platform and there's cameras rolling. Now, my question to the audience out here is, do you feel like if Anton would have said it to Cory's face that Cory would have hit Anton on camera? Like, really think about that. Do you feel like that would have happened, or do you feel like Anton would have said it and Cory just would have been like this? All right. I felt like if Anton would have had replied and responded back to Cory the way Cory was asking him to, if he would have said, oh, suck my to your face, I felt like Cory wouldn't have did nothing. I felt like if he was going to do something, it wouldn't have been while the cameras was rolling. It would have been after the cameras had stopped rolling and there was no more footage being put out there. Because you got to understand, this is something that can cost him, you know, this is something that can affect him in a negative way. You know, you don't want to have your fan base look at you like you're a troublemaker, or you don't want to lose fans. You know, just like how you gain them, you can lose them. There are people that's watching you that expects you to maintain a level of professionalism. And if you do something like that on camera and then put that out there for the world to see, it can affect you negatively. Not just that, but you can get into a lawsuit. Anton would have sued you. You know what I'm saying? So either way, you're going to take so many different losses. It's not even going to be funny. And I feel like Anton understands that. Anton knows that there's no way that Cory was going to do anything while the cameras were rolling. So all that huffing and puffing that he was doing on camera was just for show. This was just for show. This was just to kind of like, you know, show that he's not afraid. Oh, he's standing on business. But at the end of the day, you're not going to do anything while these cameras are rolling. And Anton understood that. And that's why Anton said to him, oh, I'm playing chess. You know, Anton said, I'm playing chess because he already knows, like, listen, you're not going to do nothing. You're talking a bunch of talk, but nothing's going to happen. So whatever you're trying to do right now, stop, because it's not going to work. Cory is letting his ego and his, you know, he's letting his ego and he's letting his anger getting in the way of all of this. He's saying things to kind of like combat between what Anton was saying, and he's letting him know, like, oh, you know, you got to be careful how you talk to me because men have went to wars for less. But it's like you're telling him that in a way to make it seem like you're trying to let him know, like, oh, I can't do anything to you while these cameras are rolling, but the way you're talking to me, I want you to know that if these cameras weren't rolling, things could have gone a different way. You're lucky that and you got to understand the words that you're using and the way you're describing things to somebody. They're taking it as, oh, you're trying to talk some intellectual shit to me, some mind manipulative shit to me to make it seem like I should be afraid of you, but I'm not, because one, Anton got security there. He got his woman there. He got, you know, all these people that's watching. So anything would have happened, it would have been Cory's fault. And that's the way I look at it. I don't think anything would have happened. I don't think Cory would have did anything. I don't think Anton would have done anything. I think that I really wish that these two brothers would have been able to handle this situation differently, because it's sad to see, especially as black men, it's sad to see when people get on a platform like this that we can't actually have a conversation without things going south. And you got to understand, and I grew up in New York. I grew up in the Bronx. I understand, you know, certain things you say to people, you got to be careful what you say because they might take it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I was never someone to start trouble or be a troublemaker. I was always someone who was just there to support the people around me. So if they got into something, I got into something. It was never my intention to get into anything. But I knew that if you say certain things to certain people, they can take things the wrong way. I said things less than what Cory said to Anton or what Anton said to Cory, and people got rubbed the wrong way. So I understand it might not be something serious to you when you're saying it, but it will be something serious to the other person. You have to know how to say your words in a way that people won't take offensively. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like in this situation, both parties were kind of at fault, you know, because you're having a conversation. It shouldn't have gone that way. It shouldn't have went that direction. You understand what I'm saying? If you say suck my in the hood or in New York or in the Bronx or anything like that, you got to be ready for the repercussions of what's going to happen after that. That's like kind of like a forbidden term. It's like a forbidden sentence that people use. Like, people don't really say stuff like that unless they're ready to get into a fight, unless y'all are ready to go to war. Like this is something that the only time you hear it is when people are ready for whatever. The girls are now saying that to people. Girls are saying it to guys now. Oh, suck my suck my They don't give a fuck. They'll say the shit to your face and they don't care because most of them are already ready for what's going to happen or what's going to come next. They're ready to fight. They're ready to get into whatever, square up and go to war with whatever. So they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? The fact of the matter is that Cory was saying things in a tense way. He was saying things in an aggressive way. He was kind of like little boy in Anton. And Anton's way of responding to that was, I'm gonna go even further than where you're going, and I'm gonna disrespect you on your platform, and I'm gonna see what you're gonna do. Nothing. You're gonna have to eat that. You're gonna have to eat that. It don't matter if you in my face. It don't matter if you in my face. I'll take that hit willingly because I know it's only gonna hurt you more than it's gonna hurt me. I might get hit. I might get rocked. I might even leave out here with a bloody face. But I'm gonna get that money, and I'm gonna have way more followers. I'm gonna have way more publicity. You know, people are gonna follow me even more. You know, because now they're gonna look at you as the wrong, like you're the one who don't have the professionalism. But then you have the people who are like the younger guys who are seeing it only one way. They're looking at it like, oh, this dude is a sucker. He's a punk. He took a L because he didn't say it to his face. I mean, they both took a L. One didn't say it to his face because he's really deep down inside. Anton really didn't want to fight. And deep down inside, I don't think Cory wanted to fight either. But when you're so angry and when you're so frustrated, at some point, you really don't care. You're ready to go at whatever because you're so mad that you're forgetting where you are. You're ready to fight regardless of the fact if you're going to win or lose. You know what I'm saying? Anton really didn't want to fight. But at the same time, I don't think that he would have backed down from the fight. I feel like if it came down to him actually having to go, you know, toe to toe to fight this dude, I feel like they both would have got at it. But I feel like either way, it would have been a loss on both sides. So, you know, I really hope that these guys can actually get together and try to, it would be nice if they can set up another interview and do it the right way this time, just to show that as a community, just to show as a people that we can actually work together and do things without things going, you know, the opposite direction, because I feel like they expect that from us. So when you actually see it happens, it kind of is sad that it happens that way because nobody wants to see it go that way. And you want to see black men kind of unified and work together and make things a little bit, you know, so they can, you know, get further and do things together, you know, because it didn't have to take that route. You know what I'm saying? Things didn't have to go that bad. And like I said, there was a part in the interview where Anton apologized and said, yo, I don't want to disrespect you. It should have ended there. But because at that point, Cory had already said he was done with the interview. Once that suck came out his mouth, Cory was already done with the interview. He did not want to have nothing to do with this dude. He didn't want to continue to have a conversation with him. He was just ready to go. He was ready to get him out of here. There was nothing that Anton could have said that would have made the conversation, you know, better from what it was, or you know, get into a different direction from where it was. So, but you know, shout outs to Cory HolComb, the 5150 show. You know, definitely check that show out, man. I really hope that once again these guys can actually, you know, get together and kind of work out their differences, because I just felt like that was really sad to see, you know, them go through something like that, especially when you're really trying to have like a conversation with a brother. It's like, come on, guys, we got to do better than that. You know what I mean? We can do better than that, especially when you're trying to get money, you're trying to, you know, get your promotion out there, you're trying to get your name out there, you're trying to get people out there to see, like, you know, see who you are. And, you know, like, we could do a lot better than what that was. So, moving on from the Cory HolComb show, we are going to talk about music that has been dropping this week. So, this week, we had some new music drop. We had French Montana, Max B. We had ASAP Rocky, Don't Be Dumb. And we had J. Cole. J. Cole dropped a single and he announced his new album that's coming out that we've been waiting for a very long time. We've been anticipating this album for a very long time. It's called The Fall Off. The Fall Off is going to be coming out I think he said sometime in February. I gotta look that up, but sometime in February, the Fall Off is gonna be dropping. So we're really excited about that. Can't wait for that album. You know, it's finally time. I want to talk more about that, but first, let me get into this. Let me get into the music. Before we even get into J. Cole, I want to start off from the beginning to the end. The way I listened to all these projects this week started off from French Montana and Max B. French Montana and Max B's new album, which is called Public Domain 7, The Purge. All right? And this album has 25 to 29 tracks. It has 25 tracks, and I think it has like four bonus tracks. It features A$AP Rocky, A Boogie, Lola Brooks, a bunch of people on there. And this album, you know, is really good. Like, I'm happy to hear French Montana is making music again. He sounds good. Sounds like he never left. You know, Max B is out, you know, from prison. He's now making music with French Montana. The collaboration together is working really well. The first single I heard was Ever Since You Left Me, which was really a great song. It has the sample from That's the Way, I Like It. So it's a really good album. You know, really good song, really good album, really good single. Everything that French Montana has been doing with Max B has been really interesting. You know, they've been on interviews. They've been on They've been on the Jadakiss and the Fat Joe podcast that they got going on. So they've been out. They've been outside. They've been working. And I like the album. You know, I mean, like, there's a few joints on there that I probably could skip, but I like the album. You know, I'm not really. Here's the thing. I was never a Max B fan. Before y'all going in and talking about, oh, you too young to know who Max B is. Stop. I was around. I was born in 1985. I've been around. I knew Max B. I used to hear Max B playing in the hood all the time when I was growing up. The problem is that I was never really into the way he raps. I feel like Max B isn't like a lyrical type of guy. He's one of those guys that he works well when he's bouncing off of somebody else leading in, you know, on a song. Like if he got French Montana, he can do a hook or he can do a verse and it'll work because you got, you know, somebody else that's kind of like guiding you and kind of like, you know, helping you through that process. I don't feel like there's a lot of songs that I heard on this album and it's like I would hear French Montana rap and then I would be like into the song, but then you would hear Max B rap and it kind of slows you down a little bit because his flow, the way he raps, it's just, I don't know. It sounds like obviously Max B has aged a lot, right? But he was never that type of rapper. He was never like a lyrical ability type of rapper. He just kind of flows to the beat. You know what I'm saying? He says some smooth, cool shit. You know what I mean? Like that's how he raps. And no amount of reverb, no amount of ad-libs, no amount of, you know, echoes, no amount of anything that you add to this track is going to kind of like change that. You know, you can make him sound good. You could put, you know, you could put auto-tune, you could do all these things, but it's not going to change the way he raps. The way he raps is just the way he raps, and it sounds crazy. I know y'all all seen him rapping that freestyle, you know, let me see, let me give, y'all know what I'm talking about. The one where he talking about, you know what I'm saying, old school shit, you know what I mean? But, you know, like everybody has their opinions on it. The way I feel about it is you have to be a Max B fan to actually appreciate the music that Max B puts out. And that's just how I see it. Don't get me wrong. Me as a fan of the culture and as a fan of rap and hip hop, I've always listened to French Montana, so I love his music. I love the Coke Boys album. I love Mac and Cheese. I love all that shit. But as far as Max B is concerned, you have to be a Max B fan to actually appreciate Max B's music. You can't be somebody on the outside coming in trying to listen to Max B's music because you're not going to appreciate it. And that's why there's a separation as far as there's a divide as far as how people feel towards Max B, you know, and the way he puts out his art. You can't just be like, you know, a J. Cole fan thinking you're going to be a Max B fan. That's like, you know what that's like? That's like, let me see. That's like saying if you're in the video game industry, that's like trying to compare games like Call of Duty to games like, I don't know, like House of the Dead or Killzone or something. Like, yeah, they're shooters, but they're completely different type of games. You know what I'm saying? Altogether. You know what I mean? So you can't really compare the two. You know what I mean? It's a very different comparison. Like, you can't have a J. Cole fan be a Max B fan. It just won't work that way. The reason why somebody might be a J. Cole fan is because J. Cole is a lyrical guy. People like storytellers. People like people that have good cadences, good rhythm, good flow, good bars, good, good double entendres. All these things work well together to make an artist. And Max B really doesn't have a lot of those. He just has like a cool vibe, smooth vibe. He can flow. He can come up with good hooks, but he's not lyrical like that. And you have to know who Max B is as an artist to actually appreciate his music. And that's just the way I see that. You know what I mean? But it's a good album. Good album. I like it. I like a lot of the songs on there. I feel like a lot of them joints on there. They got some hood joints on there. They got some joints you could listen to in the car. They got some real good songs on there. A$AP Rocky's Don't Be Dumb album. Again, another album that came out that I'm really happy about. This album has a cover art with Tim Burton. I guess he collabed with Tim Burton to make this cover art. It also has a few features on here. We have Dolce, we have Tyler the Creator. And it was really, like, I really enjoyed this album. A$AP Rocky has been on a run. He's living a great life. And I gotta give it up to A$AP Rocky for, just doing his thing, keeping out of trouble and just he found a good woman. He went into the fashion industry. He took some time off of music, came back, and now he's doing now he did a project that's really, really well put together. It has like, it has like different type of sounds to it. You know what I mean? Very, very, it's not just rap, it's like rap. It's like a little bit of rock. It's like a little bit of harmonizing on there. So it's really different in the way this album is. And I enjoy it very much. And I think that's what makes A$AP Rocky such a talented and unique individual as an artist. He stands out, you know what I mean? Just like kind of Tyler the Creator is. He stands out a lot, And we've seen him with Rihanna out there actually supporting him and his album. She's been in videos. They've been on I think they had no. They were in New York for his listening party or something like that. So it's 15 tracks on the album, and like I listened to the whole album, and I've been listening to the whole album. I really enjoyed the album. Maybe like I could honestly say that out of 15 songs, there's probably like maybe 2 or 3 that I don't listen to. But if I could listen to 11, 12 out of 15 songs on your album, then that's a win. You know what I'm saying? If there are 10 to 12 songs out of 15 that I'm listening to on your album, that's a win. It's not a perfect album, but it's good enough. And I'm happy that, he worked on this and really like put his heart into this album. And, it's not too many songs. It's not like oversaturated with mad tracks. It's just 15 straight songs. A$AP Rocky straight through. Like I said, you got Dolce on there. You got Tyler the Creator on there. So like the album is really good, really good. I'm trying to see if there's another. I think there's. Wait, is Dolce? Is A$AP Rocky? There's supposed to be another person that I think was featured on there. I forgot his name. Let me look this up real quick. Cause I know I know he had like another feature on there. So Dolce, Tyler the Creator. I forgot the name of the guy that's on there. It looks like, okay, so he has it says will.i.am and Jessica Pratt was on there also. Dolce, all right. I said Dolce already. Okay. Whiskey features West Side Gun and Gorillaz, right? I forgot to mention that. And the song that Tyler is on is called Fish and Steak. Shut the F Up, STFU features Slay Squad. And Stay Here for Life is featured by Brent Fires. So those are the artists that's featured on the album. Stole Your Flow and Players is probably like the two most important songs on this album to me, honestly, because I like Stole Your Flow, and I feel like, you know, he was on an interview recently and people were asking him like, hey, you know, who Stole Your Flow about? Because a lot of people feel like he's directing Stole Your Flow towards Drake, but A$AP Rocky didn't really give any confirmation if he was really talking about Drake or not. He just said, whoever feels like it's about them, if the shoe fits, wear it. And that's what he said, you know. So we don't know if it's about Drake, but, you know, using your common sense, you're going to put two and two together and figure, hey, this is about Drake. You know what I'm saying? So, but Stole Your Flow and Players, I really like Players because it's like he's kind of like taking that word and he's making it into a different type of, like, it's a two definition word. Like, so some people say, you know, being a player is like, all right, you know, players out there, people that are, you know, hustling women, they have more than one woman, they're, you know, extorting women, all this shit. But there's another, in his definition of players on this album is basically like, you know, taking care of your kid is player, being a good husband is player, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, taking care of business, being a man of your word, standing up for your shit, you know what I mean? That's keeping it player, you know what I'm saying? So just by definition and just by the way, you know, he put that song together, I really like that song. I feel like that and Stole Your Flow is like two of my favorite songs on the album. But like I said, really good album. I love everything that he put into this album. I love the artwork. I love the fact that you know, he had Tim Burton help him with the artwork. So it's really a great project, and I recommend everybody definitely go and listen to that project because, you know, A$AP Rocky definitely put a lot of work into this. So the big one this week was J. Cole dropping his new song, track 2, disc 2. And he also said that he's dropping the Fall Off sometime in February. I feel like the reason why people like J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake are such big artists is because these people, when they come out and drop music, it almost feels like time stops. It almost feels like the world is just at a halt. Once you hear that J. Cole or Kendrick or, you know, somebody like Drake is about to drop music. Because out of all the albums that dropped, this probably was the biggest impact as far as music was concerned. You saw a bunch of people talking about it. LeBron posted about it. A bunch of people was reviewing it. You know, it's all over the internet right now. People are dissecting the lyrics, and that's one of the things as to why lyrical guys like J. Cole are so great, because they give you're actually able to take a deep dive and go through the lyrics with a fine-tooth comb. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons why I myself love guys that get real lyrical in their music. You know what I mean? So he made the song track 2, disc 2, and he's basically talking about his life in reverse. So he's painting you a picture of what happens when his life, you know, goes backwards. And it was like something that, you know, he like something that Nas would do, right? And so the lyrics go like, I preserve through the worst, my thirst to adhere is a curse, my life I see it in reverse. I first appeared in a hearse, the driver steered to the church, my grandkids carried the coffin to the altar as they burst into tears from their shirt. And then he continues to go into how he goes back and meets like the woman who has his kids. You know, he goes back and meets like, you know, his father. But he says something in this song that I found very interesting. He said there was a line in here that I didn't really catch until maybe like my second to third time listening to, when he mentions Jay-Z. He doesn't mention him by name, but if you know who J. Cole was first signed to, then you know that he's referring to Jay in this line. So he goes fast forward through years of rehearsal, losing, winning, bank account thinning, income streams nowhere near as nowhere near as diverse. And though I'm blessed, I see me stressing from hearing the chirps of naysayers who only days later I don't care to convert on cloud nine, now signed to my hero, one of the so-called kings of this rap thing, I swear to assert. That line was very interesting to me because it made me feel like if you're calling Jay-Z one of the so-called kings of this rap thing, does that mean you don't believe that Jay-Z is where he deserves to be? Because the one thing I don't like about a lot of artists that's been happening lately is I feel like artists that sign people, if somebody is signing you, why are you coming out years later down talking these people? You know what I'm saying? And it's happened with Kanye and Big Sean. It's happened with Jay-Z and J. Cole. It's happened with Kanye and Jay-Z. And it's like, I understand, like the way I feel about it, I feel like if somebody's going to sign you, you can not like that person. You can end up not liking that person no more. Once you realize how this person is, you and that person could fall off and all that could happen. But I don't see why you would bring this person up in a negative light, especially to the public or to the people, and to let the world know how you feel about this person that gave you the platform to where you are today, that put you on to where you are today. You know, your family is taken care of, you're taken care of, but now you're saying that Jay-Z is a so-called king of this rap thing. I don't know how to take that. I don't know if he was saying it in a negative light or if he was trying to be negative about it, but it just came off negatively. And I feel like, you know, I guess we'll know more about it. You know, once the album dropped, he might speak a little bit more about it. But it was just weird hearing that line in that song. But the song is great. It's a great song. So much going on in this song. So much going on in the video. Like, if you watch it and you listen to the lyrics, you can honestly see that there's so much happening that you can actually pick through and choose from to, like, you know, there's people like deep diving these bars. There's people, you know, saying when his album drops is gonna be crazy. It's you know, they always make it seem like there's more than it really is. You know, how these people online like to go through like J. Cole's lyrics, Kendrick lyrics, and they like to make everything look like a conspiracy, right? But it was great to know that J. Cole was working on his album and he's finally coming out and dropping this. A lot of people are saying that J. Cole no longer can call himself like the king of rap. You can't say that no more. You can't talk greasy no more because everything that happened with Kendrick. But I just feel like, you know, if you know J. Cole and you know his music and you've been following his catalog, you can't let, because of what happened with Kendrick, stop you from believing that J. Cole is still a great artist. He's still a great rapper. Him and Kendrick might have a falling out or whatever. I don't even think that happened. I feel like the situation just, you know, the media was pressing him. His friends, his inner circle around him was pressuring him. And he went out and decided he was going to diss Kendrick, but he felt bad about it, took the diss back. And then he just bowed out completely. But I don't feel like that's something you can hold against J. Cole, especially with the level of, you know, artist that he is. The level of lyrical abilities that this man have, I don't feel like you can just downplay that and just put it to the side like it doesn't exist. Just because he didn't want to battle Kendrick doesn't make him any less of a great artist. You know, I mean, yeah, you can say, oh, you know, that still holds weight in like the streets, or that still holds weight as far as you calling yourself the best. But because if you're gonna say you're the best, you can't just ignore Kendrick. But if you're gonna go at Kendrick, I don't feel like you have to go at him in that manner, because you got to understand, a lot of people that battle each other, usually for the most part, everybody that's ever been into a battle, it's been because of beef. They've had beef. Like Jay-Z had beef with Nas at one point. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have beef. You know, so everybody who gets into these battles is beef. Usually is beef. They're bringing up personals. They're bringing up, you know, situations that happen that's very, very deep. You know what I mean? They're talking shit about niggas' families. They, you know, moms get brought up, kids get brought up, you know, so I'm pretty sure that's not what J. Cole wanted to do. And if he was going to do it, he wasn't going to do it against somebody like Kendrick. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, these people are cool. They don't have no beef, so it don't make sense for them to get into a battle like that where it's not going to go that deep. You know, if you really want to battle somebody to your full extent, best ability, then you kind of gotta have beef with them. Unless you get on a track with that person and y'all just go flow for flow, which they did on Black Friday, because on Black Friday, they both did a verse on each other's beat and pretty much tried to outshine the other guy. And I feel like that was them getting their shit off and showing that they can go toe to toe with each other. But we were supposed to get an album with them collabing with each other, and I feel like that would have kind of helped settle things. But at the end of the day, these are two really great artists. At the end of the day, they both have different kind of styles, different kind of flows, but very, well, and diverse in their own way. You know, they are really great as, master as far as their craft is concerned. So I just don't think that's something you can hold against J. Cole, you know? But yeah, great time in music right now. We've had some really great projects in the past week, really great songs and stuff going around, and it's really been good for music. This year kind of started off weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy how the year started off, because it started off, first we had the whole thing going on with Venezuela. We got Trump out here talking crazy. Then we got, first it actually started off with Trax New York, right? The jeweler. Started off with him running up on these guys, cursing them out in the jewelry store, talking about, where's my fucking money and shit. Then it went into the Trump shit. Now we got music coming out. And the music, I feel like through all the things that's happening in the world, sometimes you need music, because music is what really helps you kind of move on from all the negativity that's going on around. You know what I'm saying? So really good stuff going on as far as music is concerned. So I'm happy to see that at least hip hop is benefiting from all of this stuff that's happening right now. So moving on from that, we have one last thing that I want to cover, and it's iShowSpeed. iShowSpeed. What up, baby? What up, man? So if you don't know, there's a young streamer right now. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who iShowSpeed is, but if you're not familiar with iShowSpeed, he's a young guy who does streaming. And he's been like in all parts of the world recently. He's been in Zimbabwe, Africa, Egypt, all that stuff. And he's been recording himself and streaming on his, camera on his phone. He has his bodyguards there. He has his cameraman there. And he's recording all over the place. But one of the most interesting things that I've seen him do recently, as of recent, is he was in Egypt recording inside of the pyramid, one of the largest pyramids of Giza, I believe. So it was really interesting to watch. I watched the stream, and I don't really watch streams like that, but when I do watch a stream, it's because it's something that I feel like I can pull a lot of information from and learn from. And iShowSpeed was recently doing a stream in Egypt in a pyramid. He's the first person to actually stream inside of a pyramid. So it was really interesting. The one question I have for iShowSpeed is, what service is he using? Because I need to know how Speed was getting service in a pyramid. Like, seriously, all jokes aside, like, I'm not even joking. Like, how was Speed able to do that? What service are these guys using that they're able to stream inside of a pyramid? Like, I'm watching the stream and I'm seeing him like climb up into the pyramid, which gave me some serious, I'm claustrophobic. So I don't think that's something, I'll be honest with you, if that was me, I would have been fucked up. I would have been going through some shit. I would have been breathing hard. Like, they had fans in the pyramid, and you could see that they've been working on these pyramids for years now. The actual tour guide that was there, who's actually he's actually not just a tour guide, but he's one of the guys that works on the pyramids, and he's been working on the pyramid, I think he said, for like 25 years now. These pyramids been around for millions of years. You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the people that's been around, working on the pyramid. These pyramids was built from the inside out. And you can see, like, they've been digging in these pyramids for years now, because they have all these different equipment inside the pyramids. It goes from the top to the bottom. Speed went in there. He looked at a bunch of sarcophaguses. He looked at a bunch of tombs. He looked at a bunch of areas. The one thing I want to say is that I hope that Speed actually pulled a lot of information from this, because don't just use this as an experience that builds following or builds revenue or gets you subs. Understand that you are very lucky and fortunate to be in the situation that you're in. So the fact that you're able to get all this information, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that was a great experience, and he should have learned a lot from that. You know what I'm saying? He should have learned a lot from that. Speed is a 20-year-old influencer, and he was able to go inside of a pyramid, which so there are some people that will live their lifetime and not experience that. You know what I'm saying? So that's an experience that you gotta hold dear, and you gotta understand that it's something that you definitely should educate yourself about. So all the stuff that he was learning, the reason I watched it is because it was informative. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go on YouTube right now. You can go on a lot of these social, platforms and actually watch people who go to Egypt and record, and, they show you pyramids and all that stuff. But the fact that this was a live stream, it makes it more impactful. You know what I'm saying? Because you're learning everything that's going on. You're seeing all the pyramids. They're explaining to Speed that there's hundreds of pyramids in Egypt. A lot of people didn't even know Egypt was part of Africa. That was another thing that I saw that people were mentioning, the fact that a lot of people were unaware Egypt was a country in Africa. You know what I'm saying? So Egypt connects like the northeast corner of Africa and the southeast corner of Asia. And, this is something that I feel like was very informative, because a lot of people didn't know that. And, a lot of people don't know Egyptians are actually Africans. You know what I'm saying? So the Egyptians were actually, Africans as well. He ventured through Cairo. He also, once he went before he went to the museum in Egypt, because he actually did a stream in the Grand Egyptian Museum, which recently opened up. And this museum showcases like hundreds of thousands of artifacts from the Egyptian civilization. He also flew one of those little aircrafts over the Egyptian pyramid. So it was just really interesting to watch. I was watching how they had like the different sarcophaguses, the different tombs, and they would like take the organs out of some of the kings, and they would, when they bury them, when they die, they would put their organs in the tomb and kind of like try to preserve their body in some way. Because the Egyptians believed that, the body, the spirit or the body can live forever, I guess, so they try to preserve these kings and, their bodies in these tombs or sarcophaguses. So I'm very happy to see that Speed is doing things not just for fun, but also for informative information. You know what I'm saying? Informative purposes. Because there's a lot of young kids that's watching Speed, and you got to understand that he didn't do one backflip on that pyramid. Not one. He didn't do one backflip on the pyramid. He didn't do one backflip in the pyramid. And I know a lot of his like followers are probably like, oh, do a backflip. But the thing about it is these kids also need to pull information from that, because you're not just watching some kid have fun, you're watching him learn something, and that was great to see, because there's so many kids that follow iShowSpeed, and there's so many kids that get, that go through their daily life watching him and everything. And I just feel like that was great to see him do that for the younger generation, because now, a lot of these kids aren't learning certain things in school. So if they're able to learn something from their favorite YouTuber or streamer or whatever, that's always a win in my book. You know what I'm saying? You're learning about Egypt. You're learning things that you probably didn't know about Egypt. You're learning things that you probably didn't know about the pyramids. So all of that stuff, and Africa, he's been in Africa. People are learning about Africa. So all that stuff is really great to see, that he's not just doing something for gimmicks or anything, but he's also doing something that's informative. So, shout outs to iShowSpeed, man, because, like I said, it was really great to see him experience something like that. And it's really great to see, that there was so much information that you can pull from that stream alone. He's been having a really great run. I guess right now you could say he's kind of taken the mantle a little bit as far as streaming is concerned from Kai, because Kai is right now venturing off into a different direction. Kai is now trying to create a clothing brand. I don't know what's really going through Kai's mind as far as like getting into fashion, but Kai is not streaming right now. He is making different videos showing his journey as far as how he's getting into fashion, and he's showing every little journey and what he's trying to do. He's trying to read, he's trying to educate himself, he's trying to learn how to sew and create clothing brands, and he's very serious about it. Whereas Speed has been stuck on streaming, which is fine because that's his bag, but he's also like doing different things. He's traveling the world and experiencing the world, and everybody is kind of like joining him in for the ride. So it's really great to see these streamers actually do different things other than just do crazy stuff. The Mafia-thon was just like a wild and crazy experience where every day they would do some crazy stuff. They have guests come on and they would just do kid stuff, play around, do jokes, pranks on each other. But this is actually something that I feel like the youth and the younger generation can be informed about and learn things from. And it inspires you as well. It inspires you to want to travel. It inspires you to want to see different parts of the world. It inspires you to want to educate yourself on different parts of the world. So I always feel like that's a great way to kind of like showcase your platform to the world and to the public, kind of like promote yourself and what you're trying to do. It's not just about, fun and games. It's also about the next generation to come and how you can, use your platform to kind of help them to get further in life. You know what I'm saying? So, the stream showed a lot of Speed being a young kid, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, even though he's as famous as he is and has all this money, you could still see there's a level of understanding that he still doesn't understand, because, well, the tour guide was trying to explain things to him. Even when he went into the Grand Egyptian Museum and they were trying to like educate him on certain things, it's almost like you could see that he didn't comprehend certain things. You had the fans coming, you had people coming, giving him gifts. They recognized him. They had kids that was there that recognized him, that loved him, that loves him. Egyptian kids that was coming there, giving him gifts and shit. So it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? But it also shows there was so much things going on around him that I guess he probably was trying to like take in, I don't want to speak for Speed, but like I said, I don't know how much of the experience actually mattered to him as far as like what he was going through. But one thing I will say is that there was so much information that was being thrown at him at once, between learning about Egypt, learning about the kings and gods and all of this stuff, and then also just wanting to do crazy things like lay down on a fucking pyramid bed or jump into a sarcophagus. I'm pretty sure he had his moment. I'm pretty sure a thought ran through Speed's mind where I want to open this tomb and just lay in it, because that would have been crazy, but you can't, because these are things that are like, it's almost like messing with stuff like that. People would think that you're cursed, right? Because they're blessed. There are things that are sacred that are not to be tampered with, and the tour guides was letting them know like certain things here you can't touch. Certain things were in protective cases. Certain things here are valuable to the point where you can only look, but you can't touch. They probably have never been touched in years. Who knows how long they've been touched? You're talking about hundreds of thousands of years of artifacts that's been in a museum, in a pyramid for years now that nobody has messed with. He's, getting taught about things that, he's learning about names from the pyramids that was inscripted in hieroglyphics that people are now explaining to him, what these things mean. So, I mean, it was just so much to pull from that whole experience. So shout outs to iShowSpeed, man, because that was a really great stream, really well done, really well informative. And I wish him the best, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Like, don't stop. Keep doing what you're doing. It's really great to see you excel and, keep going further in your journey. So it's really great to watch that stuff, man. But, so that's all I'm going to talk about for now, you guys. I want to thank you for watching this episode of the Marlon Night Podcast, episode 4. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it'll only help build my channel. Go ahead and follow me at Hidden Token 1. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow me there. And just make sure to share this. You know, make sure to comment. Let me know what you think about my podcast so far. I feel like I'm getting better at this every day. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, man. Until next time, take care.